The last panel. Kenji lived and breathed manga. In his small, rain-streaked apartment, the world outside faded away, replaced by the crisp black lines and explosive action on the page. He was at the climax of Crimson Blade, his heart pounding as the hero faced the final, impossible foe. The next morning, the news was on. A famous CEO, known for his ruthless business tactics, had died in a freak elevator accident, the exact, gruesome fate of the villain in Crimson Blade. Kenji felt a chill, dismissing it as a morbid, unbelievable coincidence. He finished another series, a sci-fi epic, where the antagonist is jettisoned into the sun. 2 days later, a celebrated astronaut dies during a spacewalk, her tether mysteriously snapping. The pattern was undeniable. The final panel was a death sentence. To be certain, he found the most obscure manga he could, a forgotten romance one-shot. It ended with a side character dying after being struck by lightning on a clear day. With trembling hands, Kenji read the final, fateful words. It was in the paper the next day. A local weather reporter known for his sunny disposition was struck by lightning during a freak storm. The curse was real. Kenji wasn't just a reader, he was an executioner, and his bookshelf was a graveyard. He couldn't stop reading. It was like asking him not to breathe. The only way out was to find the source. He dove into forums and archives, searching for a link, a common thread between the cursed books. His life was no longer about enjoying stories, but surviving them. He found it, a tiny, almost invisible mark hidden in the background of each final panel. A stylized ink drop shaped like a skull. It was the signature of a ghost, a legendary artist from decades past known only as the Inker. The forum spoke of the Inker in hushed tones, an artist whose work was so real, it felt alive. He vanished after his greatest work was rejected by every publisher, swearing his art would make a mark on the world that could never be erased. Kenji formed a terrifying hypothesis. The Inker's final, unpublished manga was the source, a story without an ending. It was a phantom, latching onto other manga and forcing their conclusions into reality to satisfy its own need for closure. He had to find the last panel. The trail of ink led to a derelict printing press on the edge of the city, the Inker's last known studio. Pushing open the groaning doors, he was hit by the smell of decay, old paper, and something metallic, like blood. Behind a false wall, he found the Inker's true sanctum. The walls were papered with frantic sketches for a single, terrifying story. The story of a manga reader who discovers the horrifying truth about his hobby. The character looked just like Kenji. On a drawing table in the center of the room lay a single, perfect manga page. It depicted a young man, identical to Kenji, standing in a room identical to this one, his eyes wide with horror as he stared down at a single manga page. He was a character. His investigation, his discoveries, his dawning horror, it had all been scripted. The curse wasn't happening to him. The curse was him. He was the protagonist of the Inker's final, cursed story. He forced himself to look at the page again. It was the second to last page. A narration box read, "He finally understood. He was not the reader. He was the read." All that remained was to turn the page and face the last panel. The choice was simple and impossible. Turn the page, and his story would end, his death becoming real, but the curse would end with him. Leave it, and the phantom story would continue, killing through other manga, with other readers, forever. "A masterpiece requires a sacrifice," a voice hissed, seeming to rise from the ink on the walls. A shadowy, spectral figure formed behind him, holding a ghostly pen. "My story needs its ending." "A story isn't just an ending," Kenji roared, spinning to face the ghost. "It's the struggle, the choices, and I refuse to be your final page." He spotted a dusty bottle of black ink on a nearby shelf. "Every reader brings their own meaning to a story," he shouted, grabbing the bottle. "Well, I'm bringing my own ending." He twisted the cap off. With a defiant cry, he poured the thick, black ink over the pristine page. It spread like a wave of darkness, swallowing the perfect lines, drowning the story in a void. The inker's ghost shrieked as its masterpiece was undone, dissolving into nothing. Silence. The air in the room felt lighter. The curse, tied to the integrity of the story, was broken. Kenji stood over the ink-soaked page, no longer a character, no longer a victim. The last panel was gone, replaced by a blank, messy slate. His story was finally his own to write.